Hi everybody, this is Rose of Sharon and I'm back again with another book review. I just recently read Why We Dream, The Transformative Power of Our Nightly Journey by Alice Robb. And according to the back flap of the dust jacket, she is a columnist for New York Science of Us, formerly a staff writer at New Republic. She's also written for New Statesman, Foreign Policy, Elle, Vice, The Atlantic, Washington Post, among others. And this is an absolutely fascinating book. It speaks of lucid dreaming, also hints upon, well, it doesn't hint upon, but there is a chapter devoted to nightmares, men's minds versus women's minds, the minds of those with PTSD, depression, those who are ill, or what are known as fever dreams versus the dreams of somebody who's healthy. People who are sleep deprived. Sleep deprivation can be extremely hurtful, particularly where health is concerned. And they're finding out more and more why sleep is so integral to maintaining our health and recall and ability to function as human beings. And it's fascinating, really. I learned that women are actually a lot better at recalling their dreams than men are, which I think is very interesting. Lucid dreaming can be done through planting the seeds of wanting to memorize your dreams. And reason being is dreams are very, very helpful. They're very practical because they can help us overcome scenarios or phobias. And she even talks about research that has been done on people who have gone through virtual reality therapy to actually fight their phobias and eventually overcome them. And it works more often than not than other therapies would. And there was a experiment done with some students, and they were playing Doom, and they had nightmares that were actually inspired by Doom. It was similar to those who played Tetris. They would encounter the tetrahedron shapes in their dreams. Also, it's intriguing how different cultures interpret different dream signs differently. Like, it speaks of the Hmong people and how if you're visited by a particular spirit, especially with men, they'll die. With a woman, it represents miscarriage. I forget the name of the spirit, unfortunately, but with a lot of Hmong people who convert to Christianity, that's what occurs. See if I remember anything else from this that was rather intriguing. Oh, yeah, problem solving. I mentioned that before. They had an experiment where they had the participants were supposed to go through this maze, and the participants that were in the control study group who actually dreamt that they could get through the labyrinth without difficulty actually got through the real labyrinth without any issue. There's a coalition that actually studies dreams for a living. I wouldn't mind being a part of it, actually, because personally I find dreams to be absolutely fascinating. She speaks about people who are inspired in their dreams, like E.B. White and Mary Shelley and even Stephen King, because when he came up with It, he actually had a nightmare concerning leeches, and it helped inspire him to write that epic horror that we all know and love and fear. Speaks of different people getting inspiration through dreams. Like we know Joseph, of course, with the coat of many colors. It's the first thing that she mentions. We all are familiarized with that, unless you're unfamiliar with the story and weren't in a Judeo-Christian household. But if not, Joseph was the favorite son of of Rebecca. But it's interesting because his brothers absolutely hated him. I don't want to condense the story too much, but he had dreams of himself becoming exalted. Well, it was metaphorical in the sense that the sheaves were representative of his brothers, and they were all bowing toward him. But later on, that actually happened because they sold him to the Ishmaelites. What they did is they made Jacob believe that he had been killed by wolves. They had the cloak, that his favorite cloak. They coated it with blood that they were actually going to use for a sacrifice, and they tore it up, and they said wolves got him, and of course Jacob mourned about it. But oh boy, yeah, the biggest lie ever told. But he was sold to the Ishmaelites, and of course he found himself in Potiphar's house, and Potiphar's wife tried to sleep with him, but he denied her. And Potiphar, his wife, what she said was, this slave tried to force himself upon me, and that was a lie too, because Joseph was dignified. He was a gentleman, and he didn't touch any. He knew that he was only second in command of the Pharaoh because Pharaoh had given him favor, which was actually prophesied in his dreams. It came to pass. And what's interesting is, in the course of time, we know the story. The baker and the cupbearer and those dreams and what they pretend, and Potiphar later on asking his best magicians, his soothsayers, his diviners, everybody that he knew, if they could interpret. And he finally unlocked Joseph from prison and basically restored him to a position of power. Like I said, as viceroy, only second underneath the Pharaoh himself, and he was given command. He was given so much authority, and his brothers had to come for rations, and they didn't even recognize him because he was dressed like an Egyptian. But anyway, dreams are important, what I'm trying to say, and I'm sorry I got off track, because actually that's one of my favorite stories in the Bible because I relate a lot to Joseph. But let's see, she speaks about the founder of REM, which was almost called Jerky Eye Movement, and the founder actually thought, nah, I don't really want to call it that because it sounds too much like jerk, and anything associated with that just has a really bad connotation. Besides, REM it sounds better when you think about it. And then there are lots of different hormones that are regulated when we sleep, and metabolism, and ghrelin I didn't know this, but ghrelin is actually one of those things that if you don't get a proper amount of sleep, your diet will go out of whack, and it actually will spiral to the point where you can become obese. So, as aforementioned, getting a good night's sleep is absolutely imperative, because the balance depends upon it, the balance of everything in our bodies. And it was actually very, very well illustrated by Miss Robb in this absolutely tremendous book full of research. And I don't know if she mentions all of her sources extremely well at the end in the index. And she talks about her dream journal. Trying to see if anything else was mentioned here. Not necessarily. She said that one thing I found absolutely sensational was the fact that our everyday scenarios actually will build what become our dreamscapes, and that will evolve over time dependent on how we evolve ourselves. And she also was talking about how dreams can be influenced, and I was thinking more on conspiracy theories here with possibility of implantations, and I thought, please, dear God, don't let them go that far. I don't want anybody getting close to what's inside of my subconscious, because this is all information here. I mean, there's nothing bad in there so far as I know, but but there's a lot of good information that I want to be able to publish and inspire others, as well as motivate. And it's not going to be my property anymore, and copyright law unfortunately is very vague in its description, and the language is just not at all concrete. It can be finagled and fudged, and I'm not even going to go into that because that's a whole other topic. But anyways, Why We Dream is an absolutely sensational book, and I highly recommend it. And it's brand new, so if you haven't read it, I would add it to your list of things to read. And this is another book that I would definitely put into my research pile, because I'm always reading books about onirism. I can't help myself. I'm absolutely obsessed. But till next time, live long and prosper. Ciao, tutti.